huge 40% move from the bear trap we were talking about yesterday for GTII. Let's go ahead and find out what could be happening for the following sessions. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a GTII technicals, raw price action, and corrected statistical thread of analysis on this happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, so very cool price action today from the bottom that we were talking about, right? So it reached our level and we actually made a huge move to, 40% move to the upside, finding that resistance on the 6-hour chart of the SMA 10 and the SMA 100. Okay, so what you're looking at here is something very similar to an abandoned baby candle setup, right? I usually like to see setups in the minimum 8-hour, preferably a daily, right? But it's still relevant and it's still worked out pretty nicely with that bullish hammer at the end of the downtrend, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the chart, to the next chart, because I know that there are a few things there are a few things here that people are very curious of. Okay, so right after this, we're going to get into the stats. So please go ahead and notice here that this was essentially that loading zone that we were looking for, right? Bottom side of about $1.02, top side of about $1.11. As you can see, we actually went smack in the middle of our range here and actually made that bounce to the upside. And actually, in the price action, we reclaimed the inside of the ascending channel. Okay, so this was the criteria for this being a type of bear trap was, first of all, we're in an upper term time frame. We're in the 12-hour chart here, and we actually did make that opening of the candle to be right at that secondary support, the dotted line that we were talking about, right? So very curious that we were able to succeed the inside of both of these areas again. Okay, so I love it. I love it. The price action is looking very nice and it's looking very bullish thus far. Okay, so now let's go ahead and dive into the long-awaited statistical analysis. Okay, so I want to go ahead and talk to you about what the statistical backtest consists of. Okay, so my let's see, one of the course members, Tony T Wood, he actually asked to kind of explain why the upside move is what it is. So if you guys recall correctly, if you're following my videos, you will remember that I actually noticed that, you know, beyond this huge arrow here, which was the last iteration from where we were able to see, you know, price action. I'm talking about we weren't able to see anything before this. And I'm talking about for weeks and weeks and different time frames and everything until just recently all this data actually came back and it is now visible to us, which is just huge. I don't know. That's I don't know what to make of that, but it's very curious that it was not available until just about 2 weeks ago. So I did continue on the back test for volatility versus momentum. Okay, so let's get into that criteria now. Okay, so this is volatility you're looking at represented by this indicator BBWP. Stochastic momentum is what essentially gives us that bias for direction because volatility is direction neutral, right? So what I have done here is actually marked every iteration to where volatility has expanded into critical volatility, being within the 90 percentile, and then started a contraction phase towards the downside alongside stochastic momentum pivoted towards an upside. Okay, so I've taken note of that iteration's duration, right? I've taken note of the iteration's upside thrust from the firing of the signal, and also the amount of times that volatility versus momentum guessed the upside correctly versus incorrectly. Okay, so throughout the entire trading history of the GTI asset on the 3-day time frame. So this is why you see all these notes here. Okay, so the newer ones, actually this is in not one of those iterations, right? So all the newer ones are marked black and the older ones are marked white. Okay, so now we have the corrected upside thrust from this criteria. Okay, so please go ahead and notice that out of a total 31 iterations, we have 21 that have been guessed correctly to the upside, giving us an averaged upside accuracy of 67.74% with an averaged upside thrust of almost 1,000%, 971.33% over the span of about just over 22 and a half days. Okay, so I did have to convert the math. I did have to kind of add to the samples And this is why we have the new corrected data, right? Opposed to the 3,000% that we saw in the last time, which was, I mean, still good. We already made a 550% move from that, right? So what I am trying to say here is that the signal is still valid and it's still firing. I mean, it's still in play. And this is why. Okay, let's just go ahead and just make all these adjustments here to the chart so that we can see what's happening. Okay, so please go ahead and notice that the firing of the signal officially happened right at about here when we started making that downside continue. Oh, I'm sorry. It's right over here when we started making that downside, right? So it's right around here to where stochastic momentum started pivoting towards the upside. And as you can see, upon the firing of the signal, we're not going to get that. We're not going to get a perfect line to the way up, you know, to meet 970%, almost 1,000%. There is going to be that natural ebb and flow to this. Okay, so why I'm telling you that it's still fired is because we are still in a contraction phase, right? So meaning that we would likely be doing this with volatility alongside momentum doing this. Okay, so this is why I have this regression line right here, because it is in my belief and in my assumption, right? It's not mathematically backed, but it is under my assumption that we could be making a corrective move by the time we reach. It could even be earlier than this drop here, right? But the move is actually still, it's still happening, and the closure. I'm sorry that you can't see the closure right over here, right? So let me make that text a little bit bigger, because I'm noticing that's it's a little hard to see, right? I usually have it at about a 20 for the font. There you go. So I know that you can't see the timing for the closing of this 3-day iteration, but I believe it actually will close tomorrow. Okay, so this is very important, as the upside move that we made could reflect into a further correction of the momentum oscillator. Okay, so meaning that this could now start curving, which would then set up and continue on the upside for that 971% move to the upside. And where does that land exactly? So this is where things really get interesting now. No, it's not $18 anymore. But the target that I am looking at based on the corrected analysis is $10.27. Okay, which just happens to be what? Well, first of all, take a look at the 4-spot 618 located at $10.06. Also, please notice that the upside of the macro channel that we've been riding on, the resistance, is located at let's see, just about, oh, okay, it would actually be over here. Say, for example, if we were to make it by March 14th. I'm not, there's no particular date to this, okay? Don't take that date seriously. I'm just saying, just what if we did? Go ahead and notice that it's $10.69. Okay, so if we want to meet it exactly to that date, it would be it would be March 1st. But no, I really don't think we can make the upside that fast. Okay, seeing the way that the market is moving here, very likely that we can face this upside later. Okay, maybe in a few weeks. So yeah, so there's a lot of confluence here. There's a lot of rhyming within the 4-spot 618, and of course it would be the 618 target, the golden mean, because that is usually where price action tends to land, on the 618s. That's usually where the sentiment likes to take the trade to. Okay, so I like what I'm seeing here, and I still see the move playing out to the upside, just to be perfectly clear with you. So this is looking not bad whatsoever. So I love this. Okay, so even still, when we make that move to about $10, that's going to be the new all-time high. Actually, all-time high. That's going to be the new 52-week high. Okay, because we haven't been at that $10 level since when? Let's see. The last time we were at that $10 level was in April 6, 2010. Just to be completely transparent here, so you can see the power of what may be happening soon. Okay, so yes, I'm saying that it's imminent, and I see this correcting, and there is the possibility to where this actually can start correcting within the next day or two, and then we could actually start preparing that next leg up for GTII, just like we saw the bottom side of our channel here on the fractals side, right? Just like we saw here. And oh, very, very curious. Check this out. This was our fractal right over here. If you can't see it, look what we were talking about already. How is that? My goodness. Look at this. Look at the price action. Literally what we were talking about, right? So, yeah, I think this is still moving on that natural ebb and flow, and even in this channel right here, it's very curious. So if we were to continue on, the next fractal would have essentially landed about here, and it's signaling a potential about $4.87, which is just about half of the target that we're trying to reach, right? So if we do face another correction here, then the next target would essentially take us to about $7.71, which is starting to get really close to that $10 target, right? So I think everything is moving along pretty nicely. Of course, the time fractals are not going to play exactly the way they should, right? Because they're just fractals. They're not based on anything else other than just a theoretical math. It's not factoring in psychology. It's not factoring in world events. It's not factoring in anything, right? It's just a huge theory. All right, you guys, so that's exactly what I'm kind of looking at for the statistical side of the analysis. So moving on to the last part of this analysis, please just go ahead and notice that the immediate short-term time frame, 30-minute, is suggesting an upside right away. Okay, so we do have a few resistances coming up, but I mean, it's very likely that we would see them because there is a pretty strong move that we made to that upside today, right? So go ahead and notice here, 30-minute upside. We do have an upside as well on that 4-hour, and I do believe that we can actually succeed both of the 14-day simple moving average of the 4-hour time frame and the 8-hour. Why am I saying that? Well, because the daily time frame is suggesting some resistance coming up right at that center area, right at 50% of the RSI. Now, if we're looking at price action a little closely here, then that upside could actually have, it's pretty confluent. It could be right at that 156 level. Okay, so of the 0.618. So I'm going to go ahead and take a new fib now and see if we can actually apply the previous. Let's see. So this was, yeah. So we're going to take the previous iteration, right? So of the 12-hour candle. And yeah, still nice. So go ahead and notice that at the 1.618 located at 158, and we were just talking about 156 at the 0.618. So yeah, I'm looking at about $1.58 likely to be, tomorrow by maybe end of session or mid session, followed by a potential retracement to test this newly converted resistance into now a support before a continuation onto the upside. So that we still have to play by the playbook rules, right? It's not going to be, unless there's some type of crazy fundamental catalyst or something that can send us to the moon, then great. That's awesome. Or just some crazy event that could send us all the way to the bottom, then I guess so be it, right? But in this case, none of that is being suggested by neither the stats or the technicals. Okay, so yeah, I'm looking at a potential $1.58 target potentially tomorrow. All right, so with that said, I think this is a pretty good place to leave off this video. Please go ahead and refer to the link in the description below where you will find the Twitter and Discord links. Okay, so I just have to remind you that there, I think, is one seat left for the ARC Masters course from the 30 that I actually promoted about 6-7 days ago. Okay, so it's pretty much sold out now. So if you are interested in acquiring that last seat, please go ahead and refer to the Discord and reach out to me via DM any platform. All right, you guys. So with that said, I wish you, well, a very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.